right. Yeah, it looks like we're people are filing in. They're all excited to listen to Mrs. Kelly Martin here today with her LEAP session, brought to you by I believe this is Trib and APRO joint project. The presentation today is going to be Ordinary is Extraordinary, and you will be hearing from the one and only Kelly Martin, from the Chief Operating Officer of Rent One. My name is Chad Fosdick. I'm a Premier Rental Purchase franchisee in Nebraska, and I got voluntold to facilitate this today. So I'm going to do my part and get out of the way so you guys can take in all the great stuff that Kelly is going to present on. I will just make a note before I sign off. A copy of today's presentation will be available on APRO's website under Educational Resources. So if you want to go back and rewatch and relearn all the things that we're going through today, that will be available for you. So from this point, I'm turning it back over to Miss Kelly Martin. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate you handling all of the dirty stuff today, getting down in the weeds for us. And thank you everyone for joining. I was asked by Amber Lee to jump on here and come up with something to talk about. So I am giving this a go. This is my first time with this kind of topic. Ordinary is extraordinary. I'm really excited to be here today. Before I get super started and talk a little bit about myself so you know who I am, if you can drop in the chat for me I can see your names, that's easy, but what your role is within the company that you're with which rent-owned company you're with. I can get a little bit of perspective on who's out there, what's the audience look like. That would be fantastic if you can drop that in the chat, if you know where the chat is. I should be able to see it, hopefully. There we go. We got a store manager, we got a buyer, a regional manager, perfect, from Morona. We've got an owner. What's up, Cleeks? Lots of you guys. Assistant manager, a store manager, GM and errands. Awesome. Another GM. All the doer of all the things. Lauren, I feel that in my soul. I think we all feel that in our souls. Currently own and operate Premier. Oh, thanks, Chad, for jumping in. Store manager, Jen from APRO. Okay, good. We've got a nice mix. We've got quite a few store managers on here, a couple of regionals, a little bit of leadership, which is great. Good to know who my audience is. I love that. Nice mix. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Kelly Martin. I'm 38 years old. This is a picture of my lovely family from, I think last winter. I've actually been the winter. I think Evie wore that maybe 2 winters ago. I probably should have updated this picture, but that's okay. That's my husband, Doug, with the chainsaw. This is us in Montana. These are my kids. This is Axel right here. He's actually just about to turn 9 next week. Andi is my middle daughter. She is 7. And Evie is our feisty little one. She is 5 years old. We love hockey, both ice hockey. All the kids play ice hockey. They also all play field hockey. We play a lot of sports around here. I love my family. You'll find more about that out throughout the conversation that we're going to have. Really like to work out a lot, specifically lift heavy weights. I'm not a big HIIT person or yoga or running. None of those interest me, but if you give me a barbell, I'm pretty decent at it. Love to bake cookies, cakes. I really suck at decorating things. However, I can bake something, I just can't decorate it. Good thing when you make baked goods for your family, they don't care what it looks like. They just care that it tastes good. Our 2 favorite places are Montana and the lake in the summers, the winters. Whenever we can get there, we love to do that. I'm a continual student of life is what I like to call it. I'm always learning from others, from books, from webinars, from keynote speakers, from anything I can. I love to learn. I say yes way too often. It's one of the things I'm working on doing less of. Those are my likes, my dislikes, details. Don't ask me afterwards to list everybody in this meeting. I won't know who you are. I will overlook a lot of small details all along the way. I really don't like cleaning. It was one of the first things my mom said. I don't care how much money you make, get a housekeeper, someone to come once every other week, once a month, some point in time. I don't like cleaning. I'm not good at it. It goes with details. Heights, terrified. Losing, I don't lose. I don't like to lose. If I lose, I'm in a crappy mood. I'm a poor sport. And spelling. Something in there is probably misspelled. Something in this presentation might be misspelled. Hopefully Josie, who helped me out with making the actual presentation, because I don't like details and I'm not good at things like this, didn't do any misspellings. So that's a little bit about me and where we're at. When I came up with this presentation idea, one of the things that came to mind about life in general, because we get a lot of presentations in APRO about, how do you grow your store and how do you hire the right people? And How do you get your KPIs to the right levels, and just a lot of business things. And I wanted to try to take a different approach at it. And one of the things that started to come to mind was when we think about social media and we think about the world today, and I'd love if you guys can, while you have your chat boxes up, I'm going to throw a couple different people up here, and I would like to know if you can name them. Here's the first person. Anybody know who this group of people, this family, whatever you want to call them, anybody drop this in the box for me in your chat? Hopefully someone knows who this is. I would assume so. They have like 4 million followers. When I started following this family, I think they had a whopping Ballerina Farm. There we go. Kim's got it. Ballerina Farm, Ballerina Family, Ballerina Farms, whatever it is. Yes, this is Ballerina Farms. We'll go with the next one. Maybe we'll get some more bites on this. I don't know the age demographic. I tried to spread out where I was going with this, but we'll see. Anybody know this couple? They also kind of are a family, which is interesting. I think I picked a lot of families on here. Love their videos. Amberly loves their videos. Can you name them, Amberly? It's the Holderness family, I think is how you say their name. I don't follow them, but I do know who they are. Can't remember. Okay, maybe I'm off on my bases here. Let's try these guys. It says their name on there. This is Five Marys. She's one of the original farm-to-table operators out there on Instagram. I won't make you name them. This one, someone should know. Chad, if you can at least chime in for me here. Gary V, there we go. Okay, we know a couple people know Gary V. That's good. And then last but not least, we'll see if I'm right on this one. Maybe this is a better demographic. I think I know her name. Maybe someone else can help me out. There we go. All right, her name is Alex something, Alex whatever. Anyway, the point being, usually I was hoping we'd have a few more names in here that you guys would recognize some of these people. Maybe my gear's off a little bit and I'm just not aligned with the target audience in here. But we all have these people in our lives that we follow that kind of have these really big stories and have this really big momentum about them and make you feel like maybe you're not enough. And so I wanted to jump back for just a second and jump into my story and see if this feels familiar to anybody. So I'm going to jump back to whenever I graduated college. I graduated in 2010 and I jumped right into Rent One and I became the training manager, and it was a lot of fun. This is me, training manager. I went to the APRO Kentucky Derby. I thought I'd throw it back to when you guys were in Louisville in 2010. So a good, oh my gosh, how many years ago is that now? 16 years ago. We had the APRO thing at Kentucky Derby, and I was working on creating some standard operating procedures for Rent One. And long story short, I didn't love it and I left. And I moved to Utah to go explore life and entrepreneurship and all the things that had in 2011. There's me exploring Utah, all very exciting. However, I think Trent is on this phone call. Thank goodness. Trent called me out of the blue and said, hey, I got an opportunity for you. I had been in Utah for about a year and a half, and I had made some really, really, really good friends. But Trent said, we have an opportunity for you. You can move back to Mount Vernon, Illinois, and you can be a regional manager for us. And at this point, after a year and a half, I had missed 2 summers at the lake. I had missed countless dinners. I had missed Christmases and a lot of stuff. My family was great and they came out every once in a while, but I was really missing my core unit of my family. And I also thought, you know what, I should probably give this thing a shot. Let's go see if I actually like rent to own. So I moved back and I became a regional manager at Rent One. And when I moved back, I got the most remote place that I could find. Actually, this was literally the only house I could rent. It was about 15 minutes outside of town. And it was on this really cool little island thing. It was random find, but there were no apartments essentially in Mount Vernon. They really, long story short, they didn't really exist. So I moved into the middle of nowhere by myself, didn't have any friends, didn't know anybody, and I was going to become a regional manager. That went really interesting because I came in obviously with a lot of uphill battles as the owner's daughter. There's some stigma things. I had a lot of tenure, and I found a group of people that was willing to essentially take me in, teach me, help guide me through some learning of the basics, and then trust me to in turn reverse roles and start to lead them. Some people like Terry McLean, who literally, he was just a store manager at the time, but he, would sit down and explain KPIs to me. I had other people who would teach me how to put together 3-piece table sets, and other people who taught me how to clean the couches the right way and SteriFab and what is this and what is that. And so eventually, oops, that one, wrong way, sorry. Eventually, I became a regional director over 40 locations. And in that same time frame, life was still happening. I had met my husband and we ended up getting married. After becoming a regional director, we had a few things change in the family, in the business. One of them was our marketing component, and I needed to move to St. Louis to come run the marketing agency. And I was also pregnant with our first kid, so I had a baby. Went to go change my whole career out of operations, out of rent to own, and jump over into marketing. After I ran the marketing department for about 2 years, 3 years actually, I think it was, we needed to jump back over into operations, and I became the vice president of culture and strategy, kind of gaining some momentum there. Had some more kids along the way, and then lo and behold, shortly thereafter, actually a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I jumped up into the COO operational role, and my kids grew up a bit. Woohoo! So I say all of that in this story of telling you that nothing about this story that I just shared is extraordinary. In all reality, none of it is even that impressive, right? It's very mundane, very boring. But along the way, I can point to key moments where there are people who impacted me in my life and got me going to where I was going to head, what direction I was going to go. And so when you think about your life, it probably looks relatively similar to this. It might not be like you didn't move somewhere crazy, but you probably took a job here and then you jumped to here and then you met somebody and you had a relationship, or this happened and that happened, and life just keeps going, right? It just looks like life to you. This looks like life. There's nothing crazy awesome about it. There's nothing super inspiring. And some people might even say, you're just lucky to be in the position you were, which is also very true. There's really nothing unique about it. However, there's people along the way that continued to push me. So I talked a little bit about Terry McLean. There was opportunities in Utah and friendships that I made, meeting my husband. There's some other things I didn't necessarily get too deep in the weeds. So I want you guys to think for a second, and I want you to go back to you looking at your life and at your vision. And instead of, oh, I'm inspired by Instagram every day, or Twitter or Facebook or whatever platform you're on, TikTok, I want you to think about it and type in the box, who's somebody who's impacted you specifically? Somebody who's impacted you specifically. Okay, perfect. Mike and Heath, Chad says. Amber Lee says her pastor. Their first boss, Rick. Mom, a manager. Junior's dad. Craig, another manager. I love it. Father and grandfather. Absolutely. Mike, Heather, Craig. Your best friend, Jeremy. Love the best friend comment. Tiger. Perfect. So we're getting some good examples. Professionally, Tiger. Yeah. Former franchise consultant at a previous rent-to-own business. Fantastic. I love it. So we've got some good specific examples. And when you think about these people, these are two of my examples here. So I have Larry. Most of you might, well, no, you guys are all a lot of store managers. Larry's my dad. He's the owner of Rent One. Along the way, he's had countless stories that he shared, countless hours of time and wisdom he's imparted. He's also been, he writes hand notes. He spends the time to give you great feedback. There's a lot of things that he does. And then I have recently had a new mentor. His name is Michael Alasso. Who's really spent a lot of time with me. But when I think about these people and you think about them, what did they actually do that made an impact on your life? So now we're going to think a little bit harder. Beyond just writing their name down, what was it that they actually did? How have they actually impacted your life or influenced you or guided you? And I apologize for some of the quietness. This is what happens when we're in one of these more formal settings. Okay, they believed in me, right? Anthony says they believed I could be better. They believed that I could do something more than I thought that I could do myself. And Jen's echoing the same sentiment there. Loyalty. Jeremy hit a really good one, right? Loyalty. Regardless of what was going on, they stood by my side. They probably believed in you, and they helped you through that. Support. And what support looks like, right? What does support look like? It's verbal, it's physical. So it could be, communication support, but it could also be being there when you need them. Show up, be present. Being present. If I'm sitting here like this the whole time you're talking to me, that's not being present, right? You're not engaged, you're not there. Teaching and leading by example. So teaching strong work ethic and accountability. Being the visual of what you should be doing, setting the example themselves, setting the standard is what Chad's saying, and holding you to it. Chad, I love the holding you to it, right? So sometimes they got to tell you that maybe you're not actually meeting the standard, give you some pushback, give you some feedback, how to overcome obstacles they knew you would encounter along the way, which is always good, talking through that. And they push you out of your comfort zone, show you what you're capable of, guidance, help being a better person. Oops, wrong way. Sorry, I had that button on the wrong side. So yeah, a lot of the things you guys are saying are exactly the things that anybody else is going to say. They believed in you, they spoke with actions, they showed up when you needed them, they were consistent and predictable, right? You knew someone said that to loyalty and support when I needed it the most. When you need them, they're consistent, they're predictable. They cheered you on with words and actions. They gave you constructive feedback. Feedback can be positive and negative. Regardless, it's constructive. Having the ability to give that feedback is next level. They said no when necessary. So sometimes they might be like, that's a bad idea, or no, we can't do that. They gave you more opportunities when you might not have been ready. This is a big one for me. As someone who has impact on you or influences you, sometimes they're willing to give you open the door. You have to step through the door, you have to take the opportunity, but they might open the door a little early for you. They made connections in your life that bettered you. We always, I say you're the average of your 10 best friends. I've also heard you're the average of like the person, you should always have someone pulling you up, someone you're pulling up, and two people that are equal to you. Like, so peer wise, you should always have this circle of people. Usually if these people are positive people in your life, they're also introducing you to other positive influences in your life. If you can think of that, of someone that they might have introduced you to that also helped you be better, that's a good example of someone who's impactful. So I bring all this up to go, oftentimes in life we go back and we go, I'm looking at all these big stars, or you hear a keynote speaker, right? The keynote speaker comes up and tells you this extraordinary life story that I did not just tell you because I don't have an extraordinary life story. But they tell you this really elaborate story and you're like, that's amazing, but that's not me. And then you kind of internalize that, whatever it is. But what I just showed you along the way is that actually, you probably have a very relatively similar life story to myself. Most of the people you know have a very similar life story, yet all the people that impacted you also most likely have a very similar life story, which leads me to question that maybe you're already that influence, that positive person on someone that you know today. And that you don't really need a dramatic story or to have 5 million followers or be a keynote speaker to actually show up and make a difference. In reality, it's doing just that consistently and all those things that I just had listed on there that make you that important right now. And in turn, I want to know what that looks like in your stores. So this is where we're going to get a little bit juicy. And I want to hear some stories from you guys because oftentimes we don't take enough to reflect upon ourselves. And I want you to share a story in the chat. Again, I don't think I realized that this wouldn't have microphones, but that's okay. I can read the stories myself. When you helped a coworker move up, or when you helped a coworker through a hard time, or a client through something, or you got a client something great that they always needed, or you made an impact on your community, every single one of you has one of those stories. So if you're so bold, I would love for you to jump that down there. We can unmute you if you raise your hand. Oh, if anybody wants to try to raise their hand, I'm happy to unmute people. I only have a chat and report button on my end, but if you raise your hand, it sounds like we can unmute you if you want to share a story. I would love to hear some stories. If you're not comfortable with that, that's okay. You can just type it in the chat box too. But this is where, oh, someone did raise their hand. I wonder if I can do it. Oh, perfect. Talking permitted. Go ahead, Jeremy. I'd love to hear your story.
So a few years back, we did a community outreach where we did school supplies for one of our local schools. Our goal was to try to raise enough supplies for one full classroom, and we ended up by going out in the community. I went out to other local businesses. We actually was able to supply two full classrooms with school supplies.
That is awesome. And especially in your local community. So we oftentimes, this is a great example, Jeremy, you see these big initiatives that go worldwide. But in reality, the impact that you can have in your own community is so far and wide and so much bigger than you would think. And there are people in need in your own community. I love that you were able to set a goal for one and you doubled it and got two. That's a community impact. I will say rent to own is special in that that is not unique to any single one rent to own company. That is something every rent to own company will have, every single one of us. It looks like Junior said every year during Thanksgiving, we provide about 30 to 35 meals for our customers in need. This is a great one. Again, we are big here at Rent Own and customers and giving back. We've all had community events. I love Thanksgiving specifically because it is one that feels a bit overwhelming because everybody's eating these big meals and doing all this stuff. And if you don't have the money, it's going to feel very like you're very left out, especially as a family. So being able to provide 30 to 35 meals is fantastic. Presents at Christmas for individuals in each community that we serve. Again, individualized gifts out there. Does anyone have an example with a coworker they want to share? Again, you don't have to jump off that. Friendsgiving at my assistant manager's house. I love Friendsgiving, by the way. That's always a fun one. Being able to bring your group together, you might not know it. Maybe someone's newer to your staff, or maybe somebody is just not as vocal about what their current situation is. But a Friendsgiving goes a long way with our current coworkers to connect, provide a good meal, give them a safe space for a while if they need it. And you might not even know the impact that you had, let alone the friendships that you're building with a Friendsgiving. I love Friendsgiving. I know a lot of people that have helped coworkers overcome things. Who here knows a coworker that was able to buy their first house because they got a stable job in rent to own? All you have to do is type me in the box. I know Trent, you can at least type me. We know people that have been able to purchase their first home for sure. That's a big one. Yep, good. Yes. Oh, Dusty, that's a good one. Dusty had a divisional sales coach who really wanted to become a regional manager, and he worked a lot with her on KPIs, understanding our business model and metrics beyond just what her job duties and responsibilities were, and then her connections with the coworkers and understanding what she would need to do in that role. And she became a regional manager shortly thereafter. It was a fantastic example. So what I'm getting at in here is that every day you have an opportunity. Every time we go to work here in Rent Own, we have an opportunity to show up and be that extraordinary person. Again, small little things every day, showing up consistently, giving vocal support, all the things that we've listed already, that you can be that impact and you can actually be extraordinary. So when we think about this, what's one small thing you can do this week to show up in that regard? What's one small thing you can do this week? It's Tuesday. You got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Just something I do as a GM. I purchase my employees their favorite dessert for their birthdays. Cassie, I love you. Can I come be your employee? I'll take a dessert. Dusty had a lovely sandwich for me, the breakfast sandwich that he wished he had every day the other day. I love knowing what their favorite dessert is on their birthdays. That is definitely something, if someone's birthday is this week, or even if it's not, maybe you can just show up and surprise somebody with their favorite dessert. It was a good sandwich. A lot of food, donuts every Friday, homemade baked goods, a lot of food. This is a rent-to-own theme too. Outside of food, what are some other things? Okay, there we go. Thank you, Heather. Engaging and talking about their family or their life. Asking how they are. Recognizing excellence. Jen, I love that. So when we are going throughout the week, taking extra time to say, hey, you really did a great job cleaning that stove. I want you to know I appreciate the extra time that you put in to make sure that everything was detailed, and even going as far as putting on a new handle and ordering that from Marcone or wherever you order your handles from. Yes, someone believe in them. Try and express this daily. I think this is a common theme, not just in rent-own, but we tend to be in a little bit more rural towns, this group. I couldn't see where everyone's from. But one of the reasons that I love what we do in the rural towns that we're in is that this is a full-time career. This is something that you can be more than just the stock shelfer person or the factory worker or the general supervisor. As a person in rent to own, we all just shared a bunch of stories about how we impact our community on a daily basis. You get to be bigger than just that person. You become a part of the community if you so choose. Monday morning meetings, I ask how everyone's weekend was, and sometimes they have stories to tell. Love story time. Listening goes a long way with this. I think there's a lot of ways we can show up small, and listening and just not talking 80% of the time, instead listening 80% of the time goes a long way to showing all those different things that we had talked about. Okay. So there's a bunch of small things. I mean, you guys, the people that are being quieter, you have examples in your heads. I'm sure you're aware of other ways that we can show up. Let's see, one more. We start our Friday morning meetings with 2 to 3 minutes around the table describing one positive event that occurred the week prior in any area of their lives. Allowing them to talk about those things, Chad, that's a really good one. I love that one. Allowing people to talk about those things openly, you're giving positive encouragement to each other. You're talking about something positive in your life. It could be in any area and any facet, which I also enjoy. On sports fields, a lot of time at the end of a game, they'll form groups and they're called positive, I can't remember exactly, they call them positive affirmations. So when you go around in the circle, each person has to say something positive about someone on the team and what they did well, or the team in general and what the team did well. At the end of the day, you could end your day with that. Hey, before we leave, we're going to take our 5 minutes to talk about one positive thing that happened today. As a team, as an individual, what's something you noted? Always being there to do that. Also do that always with your customers or anybody in the community. So again, this is not a long talk. I'm here just to tell you that basically extraordinary isn't made of big moments all the time. And generally speaking, everybody's lives are relatively the same. We all are just going in, grinding, doing, having fun, living our life the best we can. Not everybody has this big dramatic story. Not everybody has 5 million followers. And you honestly don't need to. And it's actually the small things that are done consistently that make the big impact in the community that you're in. So I'm here to tell you that you, by default, just kidding, because of who you are, because you show up consistently, because you have the ability in your local community, because you care enough, you actually are extraordinary. So put that to use this week. Make sure you do something, show up, and believe in yourself because you are extraordinary. And that is all I have for you today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Chad.
All right. Well, Kelly, that was such a great presentation. I love the points that you're driving home that I know I took some notes. So thank you very much for doing this for us. I wanted to thank all of the participants, everyone that joined today. Hopefully this was impactful in some, as Kelly would say, some ordinary, extraordinary way. Thank you guys for joining this session. We do have a couple more coming up here soon. So the next LEAP session is going to be HR and onboarding done right. Presented by Ashton Atkinson. That will be May 21st. And then the always engaging and impactful Mike Tissett will be holding the next session, to be determined, I believe, on the topic June 9th. And of course, your feedback is very, very important and critical to like the future sessions that get put on. We want to hear from each and every one of you. If you could please scan this QR code. I do believe okay, yes, they just dropped the link to the LEAP survey in the chat as well. That feedback is so critical because we, as these guys are organizing these topics, of course, the intent is to get things that are most impactful to you and grow this audience and be impactful. So please provide your feedback as soon as you can. And we really appreciate all of you attending, and we will see you next time.